All right, guys. So as a young Republican and conservative in this country, right? Also as a political commentator, I'm always thinking about the future of the Republican Party, right? The future of conservatism, the long-term future. Because to me, what conservatism means is conservative, traditional American values. Traditional values like marriage, right? Having kids, religious freedom, freedom of speech, protecting the Second Amendment, property rights, protections from illegal searches and seizures, things of that nature, right? I am all for any policies that will help promote marriage, getting a house, having kids, right? Those are the things that I really, really, really value, okay? So to me, right, being 26 years old right now, President Trump is currently 74, right? So I'm always thinking about, well, what comes after Trump, okay? And to me, right, I pretty strongly believe that there is a need for a new Teddy Roosevelt type figure in the Republican Party, okay? And the reason why is because Teddy Roosevelt is basically my favorite president, okay? And the reason why he's my favorite president because he was truly a man of the people, and he also was a badass. Okay, I mean, the guy was a war hero in reference to foreign policy. He's the one that came up with the phrase, speak softly, but carry a big stick, right? The dude got shot, right, while giving a speech and continued to give this speech for like an hour before receiving medical treatment. Okay, he was huge on conserving the environment. He made that in conservatism one and the same, which I think really is common sense, right? He was also the first president to invite a black man, Booker T. Washington, who you guys should know I'm a big fan of him as well, right? Into the White House for dinner, even though he didn't do it again because a lot of people were upset about that. But he did consult with Booker T. Washington very often in regards to issues of Black America. Again, you guys know how I feel about Booker T. Washington. Great American figure. Anybody, again, should read up on him. Up from Slavery. Highly recommend. Definitely check it out. And last but not least, Teddy Roosevelt was really big on protecting the consumer. He really was just a fascinating figure throughout history. Highly recommend anybody read up on him. There's a reason why both parties try to claim him, okay? The Republicans try to claim Teddy Roosevelt. The Democrats try to claim Teddy Roosevelt. Everybody wants to claim Teddy Roosevelt. So when a Republican such as Ron DeSantis comes out and says that he is a Teddy Roosevelt style Republican, my ears instantly perk up because that's the language that I like to hear, right? Okay. Ron DeSantis was specifically talking about conserving the Everglades of Florida, right? And I think that's great. But in a time like this, where conservatives are experiencing mass censorship from big tech, I do think that we need a Teddy Roosevelt type figure, okay? Because he was the original trust buster of the Republican Party back during a time where the Republican Party was a little different, right? Like, that's just the way I'll phrase it for now, okay? And Josh Hawley, right, came out and gave a speech at CPAC that really took me back to Teddy Roosevelt, and I can tell he took a page right out of TR's playbook. But before we get in that, my name is Greg Foreman, and you're watching A Black Conservative Perspective. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share. A Black Conservative Perspective, aka a leftist worst nightmare. You can also follow me on Twitter at GForemanBCP. Let's get it. All right, guys. So Josh Hawley is going to give a very interesting speech at CPAC in which he talks about big tech and what conservatives should do about it. And he really channels the roots of the Republican Party in this speech. Let's take a listen.
I just heard this morning, that a Christian worship leader at a church in this country who has albums, worship albums he put out, he just got a call this morning from his corporate distributor, and they told him they're not going to distribute his next album. What was his sin? He supported Donald Trump in the election. This is what corporate America and the radical left is doing. This is what they're doing left, right, and center. And they're going to keep on doing it unless we do something about it. Now, the real question is, how do we get here? How do we get to this point that these oligarchs, these massive corporations in hock with the left, can do what they're doing? And you know the answer to that. The answer is that the policy experts in Washington, D.C., and the elected officials there for decades on end have let them do it. They have given them the power. How did big tech get so big? Washington gave away the store. That's how they got so big. Washington subsidized Google and Facebook. Washington subsidized Twitter. And what are these companies, these other mega corporations, these multinational companies, what have they done to repay the favor? No, you know, they've shipped our jobs to China. They paid our workers poverty wages. They have violated all of the principles that we hold dear. That's what they've done. That's what these companies, that's what they live to do. And the left is just fine with it. Because the left and these companies together, these oligarchs, they can impose their agenda on the rest of us. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. So what are we going to do about it? I mean, that's the real question, isn't it? In this moment of crisis, our country needs us to take a stand. In this moment of crisis, our country needs us to stand up and to say, we will not be ruled by giant corporations and the liberal elite. We will not be told what to do by these modern-day oligarchs. What we need is a new nationalism, a new agenda to make the rule of the people real in this country and give the people America back. Give it back to them. Give it back to you. No more ruled by oligarchs, ruled by the people. That's what we've got to do. And I can tell you how I would start. I would start by breaking up the big tech corporations. Just break them up. Break them up in the name of the rule of the people. For the good of the American people and our liberty, we need to break those corporations up and cut them down to size. You know what? The Republican Party, once upon a time, we were the party of trust busters. You know it? I mean, we invented the concept, basically. It's time to reclaim that legacy. It's time to reclaim that legacy. And not just for big tech, but for all of the huge multinational corporations that have sold us out to China, that have sold out our workers, that have sold out our jobs. They need to be broken up. And we need to have free, fair competition in this country again.
Yeah, man. I love it. I absolutely love it because he took this straight out of the Teddy Roosevelt playbook, because Teddy Roosevelt was the original trust buster. Okay, I mean, he revived the defunct Sherman Antitrust Act to go after JP Morgan and Northern Securities to successfully break them up. Okay, this was a part of Teddy Roosevelt's square deal in which he focused on restoring power back to the consumers, not letting big corporations, right, have all the power and take advantage of the people. Okay, so when Josh Hawley comes out here and starts talking like this, right, this is the type of stuff that I want to hear from the Republican Party, right? This is the type of stuff that the Republican Party needs to focus on, right? These are the type of policies they need to push if they want to reclaim their former glory, because I do think that the Republican Party's best days were during the Teddy Roosevelt era. I really do. And part of the reason why is because I think there was actually good, healthy debate between the more conservative wing of the Republican Party led by William Taft and Teddy Roosevelt, which ultimately I think was good for the country and for the Republican Party. Now, you know, because of Teddy Roosevelt's ego, that also led to Teddy Roosevelt breaking off from the Republican Party and starting his own party, which led to Woodrow Wilson being elected, who arguably is one of the worst presidents in history. Woodrow Wilson was a Democrat, by the way, but, you know, that's another story for another day. But when it comes to, you know, trust busting, Teddy Roosevelt, right, felt that, you know, there were good trust and there was bad trust. Now, William Taft had a more legalistic view of trust, even though he was a trust buster as well. But regardless of the differences in opinions, you know, they still went after, you know, big companies that they felt were taking advantage of the people. And I would say that right now, especially with this censorship stuff, big tech is a bad trust. Okay, a bad trust. That's what Teddy Roosevelt would say. Okay, so, you know, and it's not just about censorship. It's about a lot of the other things that, you know, these big tech companies are doing to hinder competition, right? And I think that Josh Hawley really is well on his way to doing some great things as a politician. There's a reason why he's probably my number one and number two right now. And in a time where, again, conservatives are facing so much censorship from big tech, this type of leadership, these type of policies are definitely needed. Okay, so what is the case for breaking up big tech? Let's talk about that, because there are some instances here that you guys may find interesting that, you know, could be used to break up big tech. So let's talk about some of the monopolistic practices that we've seen from big tech in the past. The nearly 20-year-old case of U.S. versus Microsoft illustrates how today's tech companies are breaking the law. The court held that Microsoft used its monopoly power in Intel-compatible desktop PC operation systems to squash the Netscape browser by requiring computer makers to install Microsoft's own Internet Explorer browser rather than competing on its merits. Microsoft used its monopoly power to try to take over the internet browser market. Ironically, if the Justice Department had not sued Microsoft to stop its anti-competitive behavior, Google might not exist. After taking over the internet browser market, Microsoft could have required computer makers to use its own search engine too. See, that's the type of things that come out of, right, antitrust, right? When you don't allow these corporations just to dominate a whole market. You get Google, right? Now it's ironic that Google is using its power now to kind of do the same thing that Microsoft was doing, which was limiting competition. Google, Amazon, and Facebook are following the same playbook. Ironically, the tech giants have platform privilege, the incentive and ability to prioritize their own goods and services over those of competitors that depend on their platforms. By doing so, they contend they are improving their products and benefiting customers. An entrepreneur can create a superior product or service and still get crushed because big tech is controlling the game and playing it too, right? You see this a lot with Amazon in regards to when people sell their products on Amazon. If Amazon sees it as a big enough market, Amazon will introduce their own product, right, and slap their own white label on that product and then sell it against those small business owners, right? And obviously, because Amazon is a much bigger company, much larger capital, they own that supply chain. Essentially, they can charge at a way lower price and run all competition out of the marketplace. So this is just an example of how these big companies are using their monopoly power in order to take advantage of consumers. So it's not just about censorship, right? And censorship is a huge part of it. But a lot of it is that these big tech companies are excluding competition in the marketplace and basically taking all the profits for themselves, right? So again, guys, I just find it great when, you know, a Republican like Josh Hawley takes a page out of Teddy Roosevelt playbook and calls for the Republican Party to return back to the party of trust busters, because I really do think that that is the way to go in the future. Right? Protecting the consumers, okay? Protecting the people, being the party of the people. So I just like this speech that Josh Hawley gave. He's not backing down to the woke mob. He's continuing to move forward. And who knows? I hope that he bounces back, because I really do think this guy has a very, very, very bright future in politics. He just gets it. He gets where the Republican Party needs to be and where it needs to go. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.